will teach you how to juggle a soccer ball. When you first think of juggling, you may think of juggling multiple smaller objects in your hands repeatedly and use both your hands over time. But today, I'm going to talk about soccer juggling, which involves both your feet and only one soccer ball. You may think to yourself, why should I learn how to juggle a soccer ball? Well, there are multiple reasons. As a soccer player, it's to improve your game. According to GFTskills.com, juggling a soccer ball can increase your ball handling skills, receiving a ball out of the air, and your overall confidence as a player. As a non-soccer player, it's a really fun skill to learn, and it can also be very useful in life. In other sports like football and tennis and basketball, you work with your hand-eye coordination to improve it. But in soccer, we use our feet more, so it works with your feet-eye coordination, and you can develop that better. How do I know and why am I qualified? I've been playing soccer for over 14 years, which is most of my life, and I've juggled a ball hundreds of thousands of times and maybe even millions. Even though juggling is one of the most fundamental parts of soccer, and it can be one of the most basic, and it's also known as one of the more simple terms, it can also be very intimidating and very difficult if you're just starting out. But if you keep in mind the 3 C's of juggling, you'll do just fine. And those 3 C's are coordination, concentration, and consistency. So how do you start? First, you're obviously going to need a soccer ball, and then you're going to need proper footwear. You ideally want to have tennis shoes or soccer cleats if you have them on hand. You also want some space so you have away from anything that's breakable, so if the ball gets away from you, there's nothing catastrophic. And going back to the footwear, if you're just starting out, you don't want to try barefoot because hitting the ball can be unpredictable, and if you're not used to it, it can hurt your feet. Going on to the first C is coordination. Since with any type of juggling, the ball is constantly in motion, so you have to be constantly coordinated with your eye and your legs to keep the ball up and make sure you're going where it's moving with you. You can also work with practicing with different sized balls so you can see what kind of coordination you need and how the size affects it. Like juggling a tennis ball will require a lot more coordination than a standard size soccer ball because it's a lot smaller. Moving on to the second C is concentration. Since it's in constant motion again, you must be focused at all times. You need to keep your eyes on the ball and make sure no outside distractions are keeping you away from just juggling the soccer ball and keeping it up. You just need to forget everything else and just focus on the ball. Moving on to the third and final C is consistency. You want small and controlled movements. If you're hitting the ball hard and it's going above your head and then the next one is going below your knee, you're going to have a hard time keeping control and you'll have a lot of trouble doing it. If you have more predictable movements with your body, you have more predictable movements with the ball, so you're able to keep it controlled and you'll be focused. The final consistency is positioning. Whenever you're juggling a soccer ball, the foot you're not hitting the ball with will be planted on the ground, and your other foot you're hitting the ball with will be raised. So you have to have constant balance and make sure you're not falling over. Whenever you hit the ball, you want to keep your foot that you're hitting the ball with straight, and if you have it pointed down towards the ground, it will go outwards, and if you have it pointed too far up, it'll come towards you and it'll be harder to control. So now when we give it a try, there's 3 actual fundamental physical steps in going into it, and that's the setup where you start with the ball on the ground and you put your foot on top of it. You then roll it back to where it rolls on top of your foot. Then you have the initial flick. You want to generate enough power with your initial flick so it goes about approximately to your knee so you can have enough time to readjust yourself to hit it again. Then the final trick is the volley, and that basically means when you hit the ball in the air to keep it up again. You keep repeating this process until you keep juggling the ball in the air multiple times. So I'm going to start with the demo now just to show those 3 steps. So the angle down.
Is that good?
Yeah. Back up a little bit. So you start with the full flick up and you just start juggling. You just hit the ball constantly. You just keep going. Alright. So now you can give it a try. And if it seems too difficult at first, you can try a more modified version from soccercoachesweekly.com. And their method was to pick the ball up with your hands and drop it on the ground. You then let the ball bounce once and then you hit it with your foot the way we discussed earlier with a straight foot. Then you let the ball hit the ground again and have the bounce, and then you hit it again. You constantly repeat this process until you get used to it. Then once you start getting comfortable with the ball, you can repeat the process with fewer bounces on the ground until you start juggling with just your feet. In conclusion, mastering the juggling ball is not easy, but it can be fun. It can also increase your playing skills, and you need a lot of focus and coordination to do it. The world record for the most soccer hits or juggles in 1 minute is 166, which is quite a lot. It takes a lot of focus and consistency to do that. And you also need to remember the 3 C's: coordination, concentration, and consistency. If you're just starting out and you remember these 3 fundamental rules, you'll do just fine in mastering juggling. And juggling may or may not become your new favorite activity once you get used to it. And you may not set a new world record, but you may have fun trying. And that's it.